Bicycle wheels. I mean, without them, we'd be going nowhere. But how are they built? And is the art of wheel building still a thing? Well, we thought we'd take a look. Wheels come in a few different configurations, with spoke pattern being one of them. So here's a quick explainer on everything you need to know about spoke patterns. First up, the 3-cross pattern. Now this means that every spoke intersects another 3 times between the hub and the rim. And it's actually the most common way for a wheel to be laced, with most 3-cross patterns consisting of 32 to 36 J-bend spokes. Quick jargon alert out there for you now. A J-bend spoke is a straight spoke with a curve at the top where it joins the hub. Now wheels are crossed in terms of the 3-cross pattern. The spokes are crossed within the wheel because this helps the wheel to better handle the pedaling and braking torque applied to the wheel between the hub and the rim. Next up we have the 2-cross pattern. Now these patterns are normally found on higher end wheels and will consist of anywhere between 28 and 24 spokes to keep the weight of the wheel down. Now they also consist of straight pull spokes. Jargon alert for you, that means a straight spoke on the wheel, as you can see here. Hope you can see there. So it's a straight spoke all the way from the rim to the hub, doesn't bend at all. And it's called a 2-cross pattern because the spoke intersects other spokes twice between the rim and the hub. As you can see, 1 crossing, 2 crossing. The 2-cross pattern, as demonstrated on my lovely Mavic wheels. Next up, we have the no spoke or radial spoking pattern. Now this is when the spokes do not cross at all between the hub and the rim. And there is a direct line, a straight line between the rim and the hub. Now this means that the wheel is a little bit lighter because the spokes are shorter. However, in some wheels it can lead to cracking at the hub and a little bit more weakness, as the spokes are under a greater amount of tension. Some wheels use radial spoking on the drive side of the wheel and a cross pattern on the non-drive side of the wheel. And I'm going to explain why now. So I have my Mavic wheel here. I'm going to line it up for the camera for you, so hopefully you're getting a good view there down the wheel. So if you look here on the drive side of the wheel, which uses a radial pattern, the hub, where the spokes join the hub, it's closer to the center. And on the non-drive side, the hub is further from the center. So on the non-drive side, the spokes are in increased tension to keep the wheel straight. So the wheel builder here has opted for a cross pattern to increase the strength on this side of the wheel. And on the drive side, they've utilized the radial spokings as the spokes are under a little bit less tension. So I hope that explains the reason behind that. There's my Mavic wheel. The rim is the backbone of the wheel and it connects the rider to the road. Due to its rotating nature, the rim plays a vital role in the amount of power needed to propel the bike forward. And this is due to its mass and aerodynamic properties. The rim is found at the outermost point of the wheel, so it's going to be rotating at the fastest speed. For this reason, when you build a wheel, or when you select a pre-built wheel, you really need to pay into account the rim's weight, its stiffness and its aerodynamic properties, as this will play a huge role in the performance of the wheel. Okay, so we said the rim was the furthest point from the centre of rotation of a wheel. So its mass is going to have a greater effect on the inertia of a wheel. An example could be an increased mass of a rim is going to be harder to accelerate on and harder to get up to speed. The stiffness of a rim, however, will increase the power transfer and also allow for a higher spoke tension. Aerodynamics also play a huge role in a wheel's performance. Taken to the extreme, a disc wheel where there's no spokes at all, it's just a disc, that's going to reduce aerodynamic drag by potentially up to 60%. That's a huge amount. If you increase the rim profile depth, that's going to increase aerodynamic benefits. However, you will notice a bit of extra sensitivity in crosswinds. Although it never used to bother me and I always raced on 80mm depth wheels. Although it is bearing in mind that unfortunately, increased depth of a rim and Pairing that with carbon fibre is going to mean that those wheels and rims are on the pricier side. In a well-tensioned spoked wheel, when a rider sits on the bike, the wheel will flatten ever so slightly at the contact point between the ground and the wheel, but the rest of the wheel will remain relatively circular. The tension in the spokes doesn't change significantly either, as the load is spread evenly throughout all the spokes. However, there are some very small changes when the wheel does rotate. I'll try and explain this. So, the tension above the hub as the wheel is rotating, the tension in these spokes will be a little bit higher. It's as if the hub is hanging from these spokes, exerting an upward force on the hub to keep it in the centre. And the spokes below the hub will be on an ever so decreased tension, due to the fact that these spokes above it are under a little bit more tension. So as the wheel rotates, these spokes will have a little bit higher tension and these spokes a little bit less, as it is if the hub is hanging from the rim. Climbing wheels are lighter due to their carbon fibred rims, which are usually of a lower profile design. They also contain less spokes, all aspects which help to keep the overall weight of the wheel down. Now, obviously as a result, they climb a lot better, but they also handle a little bit better too. However, they're a little less stiff and also a little less aerodynamic. Aero wheels are typically of a larger rim profile. I often race on 80mm rims, which is probably one of the largest rims that you can get, but I just loved them. They made an awesome noise when you got out of the saddle. Now, most aero wheels are a little bit heavier than other wheels. However, it is said that their aerodynamic advantage does outweigh this, so it's something to bear in mind, barring the fact that if you're riding on big mountain passes all day long, you might want to opt for a lighter wheel set. Although I personally love my 80mm rims and I'd use them on most terrains if I'm honest. Now, the handling on aero wheels does decrease a little bit due to their increased surface area and their sensitivity in crosswinds. However, aero wheels are usually the stiffest wheels on the market. All-round wheels will be a balance between the two, stiff, responsive, and that bit more aerodynamic than a climbing wheel set. If you ride on a mixture of terrains, this will be the wheel set for you. They're that bit more durable. Little bonus for you now, gravel orientated wheels. They're on the robust side of things, meaning you can take a beating on those gravel trails. They're stronger, they're more durable, and sometimes they'll come in a different sizing. 650B wheels have a slightly larger rim diameter, meaning you can fit wider tyres to the wheels. So as a result, you have more traction on the road and you can fly around on that gravel all day long. Now, just to throw a joker into the pack, you may have seen this wheel hanging behind me. This, I tell you, is the Spinergy Rev X from the 90s. It was a favourite of Mario Cipollini back in the day. However, it also had its fair share of controversy. It was rather dangerous. There was rumours of amateur riders riding them and them exploding underneath them, causing terrible crashes. Paolo Bettini nearly lost his hand in a crash with one, and Bartoli nearly severed a kneecap with one. And this is because the spokes on the wheel are basically like a knife, if you look at that. You'd think it was a carbon monocoque design, but it's actually spokes which are bonded to the rims under tension. There's 8 of them, they're flat and ridiculously sharp. So whilst it does look pretty cool, I think this wheel is going to be consigned to the history books and our mantelpieces. But I thought I'd just introduce it as a little quirky piece. It does look cool there though, and it still remains a firm favourite of me. Although I'm glad I didn't have to race with one in the peloton, I'll tell you that. Right, enough from me though. I actually caught up with a master wheel builder, someone with years of experience knowing how to build the perfect wheel set. This is Marston Fisher from Condor Cycles, who is their chief wheel builder, and he told me everything he knows about the art of wheel building.
My name is Marston Fisher, mechanic at Condor Cycles. I started in 2003.
How long do you think it would take for someone to kind of become a wheel builder or a master wheel builder? How much practice do you think you need?
3 to 5 years.
Would you build a wheel a lot on feel, so feeling the tension of the spokes with your hands?
Oh yeah, now I do. I don't use tensiometers anymore. We have them. We still we still have a tensiometer, but I don't really use it. You get used to how much the tension's supposed to be. Again, as I said, just using your hands to just feel it, and you know. And then I've done that. I've built the wheel. Then I've used the tensiometer to just check it. And then once I've said, you know what, check it a few times more, then I'm never going to check it again. I'm just going to just be going with my instincts.
For anyone out there who hasn't built a wheel before but wants to give it a go, would you have any kind of tips for a real true beginner on the basic principles of wheel building?
Make sure you have the correct spoke length. That's the most important thing, right? Because if the spokes are too long and you got the lacing pattern and everything right, it's just not going to, obviously the spokes are just going to wind themselves into the nipples are going to wind up, and then the spokes, you won't have any tension. If they're too short, you might pull spokes out of the nipple. When you're building a wheel, always start with the first spoke going into from the valve hole, the second hole on the right hand side. That's the first tip. That's the original first tip for anybody.
And do you think you could sniff out a poorly built wheel? How would you sniff out a poorly built wheel?
Get a wheel, I look at the valve hole, and I see where the first spoke is on if it's to the first or the first or the third hole, then I know it's done it wrong somewhere. Or another thing is where the valve hole is again. You want the two spokes that are either side of the valve hole. They have to come parallel, and the reason they have to come parallel is so that you can put pump valves attachments in. If you built the wheel where you put the first spoke into the first hole to the right of the valve, then when it go around and it cut the completed wheel, the spokes in between the valve hole are going to be crossed in a V, and so it's going to be a limited space. So these are the things that I know that will show you that been built wrong.
What would be your own dream wheel?
Chris King hub, Hope hub, double-butted, DT double-butted spokes. Don't need none of this fancy stuff. There's a lot of guys who are CX-ray, which are the bladed spoke. Fine. Very good. But I don't know if there's an advantage in that. I really don't. I mean, people will keep saying, aerodynamic, but I don't think so. I really am a true believer in double-butted.
And do you think you can quantify the difference in race performance or just pure performance when you're out on your bike between sort of a really good, well-built wheel and a poorly built one?
Yes, because it's all about, again, it's tension. When you build a wheel properly and you tension, and the true and the tension is correct, then when you're pushing and your power and transmitting power going through your pedals, going through your chain, into your cassette, onto the hub, which goes through the spokes, into the rim, which is all about the tension. If it's correct, when you down, that power will transmit. It will go from your body to your pedals, to your chain, to your cassette, to your hub, and overall your wheel. So give you more efficiency. If the tension is low, where the spokes are slightly loose, when you do push down and you get all that, that's where you get your torque. If they're too loose, they're flopping. They're kind of like bending, and that's where it just takes. That's to zapping the power that you are putting in.
And when you do like a gravel race, the gravel race has seen an upsurge in recent years. Would you change the sort of wheel build for an event like this? What sort of top tips would you have for changing equipment for gravel riding?
Well, gravel. I mean, these wheels are right here, the gravel wheels that I'm building.
Okay.
Not much. I mean, it's, as I said, double-butted. Definitely double-butted spokes, okay. Which these are.
More durable than a road wheel for a specific road frame, or?
Yeah, this is more durable. I've changed the nipples on these. I put like longer nipples. I mean, it's really small. I mean, this normally I use 12 millimeter. I'm using 14, so it's just grabbing a little bit more. I can push a bit more tension in there. What you could do, you could use different nipples. You could use Pro-Lock nipples, which are like, they have like like a Loctite built into the threads. Another thing as well, once building a wheel that's using for gravel, again, you're using the same principles building a wheel, but you might have to tension it a bit more. One of the things the tips is like you build a wheel, you tension it, which is like, but you built the wheel, you sometimes you just tap, you tap along the actual, along the spokes, and that pings out when it's been tightened. It wants to release itself, so you bang and you release it and let it release. Then you do it again, keep on doing that. Another thing is with gravel and mountain bike, you put the tire on, put pressure up, put high pressure in, and then my thing is this is more of a advanced thing. You bang, you take the wheel in your hands and you bang it on the floor and you tension it out that way, and then you tension it out, fully tension it out, and then you put it back in the stands and then tighten it again. These are things that because on my bike, my gravel bike, build the wheels, I've never touched them. I've never truly tensioned them because I've just done that principle first off. I've never had to do anything to them.
Is there sort of an all-time best wheel? Anything that kind of stands out that you remember as being like that was the best wheel ever built?
Oh, I'll tell you a wheel that like the Hope made a hub called the Big Un. I don't know if you maybe I don't know if it might be before your time, but it's like it was one of their first downhill hubs. Massive flange, weird like concave flange. The spokes could only go in one direction from the outside, and they were zigzag. So one spoke there, one spoke there, one spoke there, one spoke there. So really weird configuration. It was just the way it looked. It just looked space age.
And if anyone's sort of out there at home and need to true their wheel, do you have any tips for truing your wheel just on the fly when it's in the frame like that?
That's one of the first things I learned before lacing the wheel was to true it. And how I did it was on obviously the back toe, on the back brake, turn the bike. I mean, obviously if you ain't got a bike stand, I don't really like turning the bike upside down, but you have to turn it because you need to be able to move the wheels. Turn the bike upside down, and on the brake pad. So the brake pad to the rim. So spin the wheel, and where the rim hits the brake pad, just do it slowly. Where you see it, when it hits the brake pad and stops, the spoke on the opposite side needs to be tightened. Because what people have to understand, the left side spokes will bring the wheel to the left, the right hand side spokes will bring the wheel to the right. So it's quite simple. So when you spin the wheel and it hits the brake pad, that spoke on the opposite side needs to be tightened. And at the same time, when you tighten that spoke, the spoke right next to it, which is on the opposite side, you have to loosen it. The reason you've got to loosen it is to stop it from going out of true radially up and down, because obviously the wheel, it's got a side to side, but it also up and down. So if you just tighten on one side and you don't balance it, you might get what we call a hop. So when the wheel goes around and it looks like it's going hop, 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 that's because the spokes have been, it's just been built. Again, that's another sign of bad wheel building, because people lace a wheel and build a wheel completely, and they just true it from side to side, and they don't think about the up and down, and then you've got this wheel that's perfectly straight, but it's going up and down.
Thanks for your time, Marston. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for the questions.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this enlightening. It's helped you get some general wheel building tips and advice. But I'd really like to hear from you in the comment section below. What is your dream? Your ultimate hand-built wheel set? Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? We're looking forward to seeing everyone's answers though. And I don't know what mine would be, to be honest. Maybe the Spinergies? Although I do rather like my hand on my wrist. I don't know if I'd like to take that chance. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I guess I better go and put these wheels back on my bike. I'll leave the Spinergy on the mantelpiece.